chaos, goals, yellow cards, red cards, drama. There was everything in this Bayern Munich against Real Madrid game. This is what we call absolute cinema. Like, what a beautiful game of football. I predicted that Bayern Munich were going to win on the night, but not the way it happened. Honestly, like, Real Madrid, I have to say, you are such a great team in this Champions League, and I respect Real Madrid in this Champions League. There is just something about them in this competition. They will always give you a fight until the last minute. They looked like they were actually going to come back in this game. In fact, they led for the most part in this game. This is a team that you just have to give them that respect in the Champions League. Unfortunately, they were not able to get the job done. I think the better team on the night won. However, I think when you look at how this ended up, with that red card, I think it was 50-50. And I'm saying it was 50-50 because Camavinga should know better. You're on a yellow card, you just fouled someone and you're taking the ball away. Now, he didn't even carry the ball for that long. So that's why I think the second yellow card was a bit harsh. So I can understand Real Madrid players feeling angry. But, I mean, from then on, Bayern Munich were just smarter and they got the goals. They ended up scoring 2 really good goals. And I can understand the Real Madrid frustration, but on the day, I think Bayern were also still the better team. More possession, more shots, more goals. I think they were just better. And Real Madrid, they can just, I understand the frustration, honestly, but I do think at the end of the day, Bayern were the better team. So what a game of football. Bayern in the semi-finals, they're going to face PSG, which should be an interesting game. On the other hand, we have Arsenal, who just drew a much more tamer game. It was not the best game of football, but it ended up 0-0, and they will face Atletico Madrid in the semi-finals of the Champions League. So I'm going to talk about both games in general, and I'm starting with Bayern Munich. So first and foremost, this game started in a crazy fashion. In literally less than a minute, Real Madrid were up 1-0. Just like that, in less than 1 minute, all the preparation that everybody must have had for both teams went out of the window with Arda Güler scoring a fantastic goal. It was a great finish, but how it happened was just crazy. Manuel Neuer, who was the guy who was doing everything to keep Bayern Munich in the game at Santiago Bernabeu last week, somehow made the first error of the game in literally seconds. Passed the ball directly to Arda Güler, who, with all the confidence, shot that ball. It was looking like it was going out from a particular angle when I was seeing the replays, but it was a fantastic finish because it curled right in at the right time. Beautiful, beautiful goal and a great start to the game. But Bayern were like, nope, we're not waiting too long. And literally 5 minutes later, they equalized. Now, I do have to say that it was a great corner from Kimmich, and it was also a really good header from Pavlovic. But what was Lunin doing there? Like, he misjudged the flight of that corner, and he also did that later on in the game. So I was a bit skeptical about Lunin and his judgment of crosses, but he did make a number of good saves, so I can't fully blame him for this one. But that particular goal was just a bit too easy to concede, and if I was a Real Madrid fan, I'll be very annoyed to see that. But at the end of the day, he did what he did, made a number of saves, but I do think Lunin could have done better in that one. But minutes later, down the line before halftime, Arda Güler scored another goal. It was a free kick. I think it was a really interesting call for the foul, but you still have to defend. So it was a good free kick from him. Now, there are 2 things I have to say in this one, because there are a lot of 50-50s in my opinion in terms of how I'm judging certain things that happened in this game. First and foremost, I think it was a great free kick from Arda Güler. Great finish as well. On the other hand, I look at Manuel Neuer and I'm like, could you have done better there? Now, that might be harsh, but I look at it and say he wasn't fully stretched, and the fact that he got a palm to that, but it went in, makes me question whether he reacted a bit late or his starting position was not great. Rhymes. But the point is, I do think he could have done better in that situation. It's a bit unfortunate, and that's how Bayern were 2-1 down, Real Madrid back in the lead again. But literally minutes later, again, another goal. Harry Kane gets in the second goal for Bayern Munich on the night, putting them 3-2 on aggregate ahead of Real Madrid and 2-2 on the night for Bayern in this game. And honestly, the goals are just coming from everywhere. It was a smart finish from Kane, I have to say. Kane is a fantastic footballer. I know there's somebody in my comments, in one of the videos I posted, and he was like, he really doesn't like Kane. I'm like, but Kane is a really good player. I understand you not liking him, but he's a really good player. And I like him personally. I think he's a fantastic footballer. So it was a great finish by him. But literally, before the first half ended, Real Madrid scored again. It was such a great goal, honestly. When you look at how the build-up was, it was a fantastic pass to Vinicius. And Vinicius with his pace, Mbappe with his pace. These are 2 footballers that with their pace, they can really, really cause havoc for any team that's defending. Like, I just think it was a fantastic goal, fantastic awareness. They had a good connection, and the pass came to Mbappe, who put the ball in the net. Now, I do have to say that it's interesting because these two can really play well when they really want to play well, but at the same time, I don't think they're being played in their best positions. Yes, Vinicius is a left winger, but we also have to acknowledge the fact that Mbappe is also a left winger, but he's been playing as a striker, doing the job, getting the job done. So I think for him, as much as I would like to see Mbappe play in his real position, he's still doing well as a striker, so you can't complain too much. But I do think that it's one of those things where sometimes it just doesn't look like it's working. It just doesn't look like they are on the same page. But in this very moment, they were on the same page, which was fantastic for them. But that was the first half, and really entertaining first half. Like, I was so amazed by watching that game. I was so happy to be watching the game. And then I checked the Arsenal game and it was 0-0. Is what it is. But in the second half, Bayern came out. They were really trying to push. They were really, really pushing to try and get a goal. I do think Madrid did have their chances as well, just not being able to score. There was this brilliant pass from Trent Alexander-Arnold. Oh my goodness. I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, when a player wants to leave, I think you should just let them go. But sometimes I miss some of the things that Arnold used to do for us, because what kind of pass was that to Mbappe? And Mbappe was unfortunate not to be able to score. I don't think he placed it on either side, so it was an easy save for Neuer. He still had to have really quick reflexes to save that, but ultimately I think that was a good one from him. But I do have to say that Camavinga, he came on in the second half, and I really have questions to ask, because this is one of those 50-50 situations when I look at both sides and I can have an argument for both sides. I can have an argument for the referee making that decision to send him off, and I also have an argument for Real Madrid and Camavinga, because I think it was a silly yellow card. It was a silly yellow card to give away, and I think it was a harsh yellow card to give as well. And I'm saying that because I'm not even a Real Madrid fan, by the way. Like, this is the team. These two teams are the teams I support. But the point I'm trying to make is, I looked at that and I'm like, yeah, you should get a yellow card for that, but you should probably also not get a yellow card for that. If I was the referee, I wouldn't give it. Here's my argument. As the referee, you've already given him a yellow card, so he has a warning not to make any silly fouls. He goes on to make a foul, which I think was not enough for a second yellow. It was just a simple foul, and you move on from that. But he picks up the ball. So you're on a yellow card, you make a foul, then you pick up the ball and you keep going. So that's my argument for the referee. But hear me out. He keeps going with the ball, but he drops it immediately. It's not even that long. It didn't take that long for him to drop the ball. So I do think it was a really harsh second yellow to give. If I was a Real Madrid fan, if I was Camavinga, if I was any of the Real Madrid players, if I was Arbeloa, I would not be happy getting a yellow card for that. At the same time, if I was Arbeloa, I'll be very annoyed at Camavinga, because there is no reason for you to hold the ball like that. There is no reason at all. You just delayed the replay for what? What was the reason? So I feel like that was just not smart from Camavinga. And also, I think the referee could have handled the situation better. So I can understand Real Madrid players being very annoyed as they were after the game. And literally, like 5 minutes after, Luis Díaz is scoring a goal. Now, I do think it was a fantastic goal. Like, the layoff from Musiala, the touch from Luis Díaz just to get that thing right in the corner. A bit of a deflection from Militao, but it was still a great shot. And from there, the game was basically done. And obviously, Real Madrid couldn't really do much. They had a man down, so it wasn't necessarily going to be an easy one. But at the end of the day, Olise, he finally got that goal he was looking for. He had 2 chances in that game where he did the same thing. The first one, Lunin hit it. I don't think it was going in, but Lunin was able to hit it, went out for a corner. And literally minutes later, he tried the same thing again, but it just went over the bar. And finally, in the final kick of the game, he was able to get it done. And it was such a beautiful goal. This time he hit the bar and it just went in, and that was the final kick of the game. What an entertaining game of football. I enjoyed it from start to finish. A beautiful game. But at the end of the day, you could see Real Madrid players really angry. They were complaining to the referee, which I understand, but at the same time, you've lost the game. There's not much you can do about it. Obviously, I'll be very annoyed about the decision, but I do think when you look at it, Bayern Munich were a lot better in this game, if I'm being completely honest. Like, they had more of the possession. They played better football. I think they had more passes. I'm trying to look at their stats now. They had more shots. They had more shots on target. Their possession was 67%. They had more passes. Their pass accuracy was the same, was also greater. Had yes yellow cards, no red card, more corners, just one offside, just one more offside from Real Madrid. So if we're looking at the stats from the game, if you look at what team was better on the night, clearly it was Bayern Munich, so they deserve to win the game. But I think it was a very interesting way to win the game. If you're a Bayern Munich fan, obviously you wouldn't care, but if you're a Real Madrid fan, you must feel like there was just something off about that decision and it just didn't go your way. But I do think when you look at it, Real Madrid definitely deserved to get that win. So fantastic for them. On the other hand, Arsenal are through to the semi-finals of the Champions League, and this is 2 seasons in a row. So, I mean, it's not a bad result at all when you look at it. An Arsenal fan would be very, very happy to be in the semi-finals of the Champions League. And on the other side, even in the Premier League, they're still first. Yes, it looks a bit dicey if they're going to win the Premier League, but right now they're in the right positions. First in the Premier League in April, semi-finals of the Champions League in April. So, it's not a bad season if you look at it, but the way they're playing football, I worry for them. I really worry for them. I think this game was tight. I never really saw a great chance apart from the one where Katamo hit the bar, where Sporting looked like they really should probably have won the game. I think it was fairly even Steven for the most part of the game. Obviously, Sporting were on the attack because they knew they needed to score, but where Arsenal really ever looking like they were going to concede, there were some chances here and there. Like there was a point where Raya passed the ball right to the Sporting player, and he was able to get the ball, but he couldn't make the right pass, and the chance was wasted. And they did hit the bar, like I said. Jenny Katamo with the shot from a cross, it went and it just hit the bar. I think that's a bit unfortunate for them. Unfortunately, they also got an injury, so their injury problems are looking even worse, especially as they're going to play against Man City on Sunday at the Etihad. That is not great for them. Madueke is injured, and it's crazy because he was playing in the position Saka plays in. So now they're without Saka. I don't know, maybe Saka might be able to get back before. I don't know the nature of his injury or how long he's going to be out for. But Saka, Madueke, out for now. So there was also a penalty call that I think was really dicey. Like Mosquera was very lucky not to get booked for that or also concede a penalty. There was a push right at the back of a Sporting player. I think it was not enough. Like any more force and that was a pen. But I also do think that he was very, very, very lucky. If that was given as a penalty, I would never complain because I think it was a really silly decision from Mosquera. But ultimately, Arsenal are through to the semi-finals. It doesn't matter how it happened. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't lovely, but they got the job done. 0-0 on the night, 1-0 on aggregate. I do think that there's a lot more that Arsenal need to work on. Like, they can be better, they should be better. And this is just 1 win from 4. 3 losses, 1 draw, 1 win. And they're going to the Etihad, where Man City are in great form as well, playing really well. So I do fear for Man City. I do fear for Arsenal against this Man City team. I think, and when you think about the fact that Man City have had a week to rest as well, that could be a very interesting one to see. So ultimately, we're left with our final 4 in the Champions League. Arsenal against Atletico Madrid on one side, Bayern Munich against PSG, which I know will surely be entertaining. Like, both teams are really good in terms of attacking. Both teams have a bit of defensive frailties, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, I want to know what you think. I think Atletico against Arsenal will be interesting. Not as interesting as the Bayern and PSG game in terms of the quality of football, in my opinion. I do think the winner of that game, the Bayern against PSG game, could end up winning the title because I do think that both teams are stronger than the other teams on the other side. But it's football. You can never really tell. Arsenal could win, Atletico could win, and in a final, it is 50-50. No matter how good each team is, it is always still 50-50. So I think it should be an interesting one. But let me know, who do you think is winning between Arsenal and Atletico Madrid? Who do you think is going to win between PSG and Bayern Munich? And who do you think is going to get to the final and win the entire tournament? I personally will say I fancy Bayern. I think Bayern are still the best team right now in Europe. They've still only lost 2 games. Interestingly, one of them was to Arsenal. So if they face Arsenal in the final, it could be a very interesting one for them. Rematch for them, or Arsenal could feel confident that, yeah, we've beaten this team before, we can do it again. It should be fun to watch. But that's it for this video. Make sure you like the video, share with a friend, and please subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I know it's ambitious, we're not on 500 yet, but we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I really appreciate it if you watching right now could subscribe. Full transparency, this is the second time I'm recording this video because I ran out of space and I had to delete the last recording because it didn't finish. But yeah, I probably should round up with this before the video stops recording. But yeah, that's it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.